Business Takeout presents The Takeout Effect with Banki. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business.
Welcome to the Takeout Effect. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business. I'm your host, and my name is Banki. The Takeout Effect is brought to you by Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise. Our mission is to empower Black entrepreneurs and increase Black wealth. Today's guest is Reggie Waterman. Reggie, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing fine, doing well, fantastic, all the above. How about you?
I'm doing great. And we're going to have a conversation, kind of like we're having coffee, just having a discussion.
Yeah, how do you like your coffee? How do you like your coffee, though?
You know what? I like it 1 cream, 1 sugar.
Okay.
And I think there's some espresso shot in there.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that.
To spice it up a little bit to get you started for the day.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we're going to get to know you more in this interview. We're going to talk about what you do. So Reggie is a podcaster. He is a public author, and he's a workshop facilitator. Before we dive right in, we're going to have a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor is Banki Designs. And Banki Designs is a creative branding and design agency that specializes in graphic design, web design, and social media content creation. And let's hear a message from our sponsor. Okay.
All right, I got all hype off the Banki Designs, man. It just came, it was just flashing, and there's a lot of beat dropping. I loved it. It was a lot of energy. I love that.
Thank you. I put a lot of work into it. So today we want to discover our other self, right? We're going to dive into your journey. I'm going to start with podcasting. As a podcaster, I've seen you as a co-host of The Pod About Nothing. And I know that you also have your own show, DYOS, Discover Your Other Self. Let us know how your journey into podcasting, how it started, and what you enjoy the most about it.
Wow. Good question off the bat. So podcasting for me was brand new when I started. This was like 2019, tail end of 2019. But the idea came in the form of, I would probably say around like July of 2019, where a seed was planted in my mind. I remember being at work and I was just reading a book. A coworker asked me, what book are you reading? Just curious. And I told him the title of it. And he goes, you know what? You need to stop reading other people's books and then write your own book. Nice. And then he paused right there. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then he paused and he said, you ever consider doing like podcasting? And I was just like, that's a message from the universe. Because a friend of mine, we were talking about potentially starting up a podcast, but we just never did it. We just, just a lot of talk at that time. And then it wasn't until that moment I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I could start this journey. Mm-hmm. And that same coworker that recommended or suggested that I do a podcast, he actually helped me and my friend Nick get started on Pod About Nothing. He helped us get like the lighting, OBS, which is a software that you download on your computer. I had no idea. This is all foreign to me. Mm-hmm. And we bought a camera from him. So we bought a lot of equipment, green screen. I had no idea what I was doing. So just buy all these things. And we kind of just figured it out, but not really figured it out because we needed a lot of help. And it was more, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? And we were big Seinfeld fans, me, Nick and I. And Seinfeld, if anybody knows this, is a show about nothing.
Yes.
Right? So we're like, why don't we just come up with like a podcast and we'll call it Pod About Nothing. And we'll just talk about whatever. And that was the start of the journey. And I would say this, it was a journey. We had no idea what we were doing.
Yes.
Nothing was scripted, but because him and I have good chemistry, we think a lot along the same lines. Just the chemistry and the flow of the conversation just came naturally. So nothing was scripted. However, if you look at some of our previous podcasts, you would probably think, well, did you guys rehearse this? But a lot of it was just improvised. So
that's amazing. So the cashew versus almonds, that was improvised?
That was all improvised. We're like, okay, we will come up with a topic. The topic was, okay, let's have a debate about which is the better nut, cashews versus almonds. And we just dove right into the conversation. I had my take and rebuttal. He had his rebuttal and his take, and we just went back and forth. But we kind of did it in a creative way where we wanted to intertwine the concept of the matrix, red pill versus blue pill.
Yes.
So that was a pretty cool idea in terms of how we executed.
I loved it. And I saw that there was a lot of creativity in that show, and it looked like you're having a lot of fun in the process, right?
Man, Banki, listen, you brought me back to Pot About Nothing. Pot About Nothing brings a lot of joy because that was the beginning. That was the start of something that, a talent, a skill that I never thought that I really had. And it really brought to light, what I had embedded in me. So, and as you mentioned, the C word, creative, it allowed us, and it gave us a platform to really spark and put our creativity out there on display.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Amazing. So your other show that you have right now, DYOS, that stands for Discovering Your Other Self. How was the transition from going from a show that's really funny, to me, I had a lot of jokes watching A Pot About Nothing, and switching to something more motivational, more inspiring, and having conversations to uplift people?
Yeah. So that transition to your point, going from something funny, light, comedic, to something a little bit more serious, the pandemic really and truly created that transition. What I mean by that is when Nick and I were first doing Pot About Nothing, we had a videographer, and I call him, his name is Mikkel, but we call him the magician, because the way that he took our vision and put it on video was just immaculate, especially when you compare it to the other podcasts that were out there. We're talking about like 4K video, and the production quality was just bar none, far apart from what we've seen. Now, when the pandemic hit, obviously the whole social distancing thing came into play.
Yes.
And that impacted our ability to actually get together as a collective because we would shoot it in my house. And Mikkel was actually having a baby, not him personally, obviously, his wife. but what happened is that he's like, okay, well, this whole COVID thing, nobody knows what it is. My wife's worried we can't be huddling around each other, so I need to mitigate any risk, and I can't be filming in your house. So I was like, oh man.
Yes.
It took me so I was like, okay, well, we tried, kind of doing this StreamYard, but it wasn't the same because of our delivery. Nick and I really and truly had to be together in the same room for us to vibe off each other. So it wasn't really translating the same way that we originally did it. So then transitioning into something a little bit more serious, now that this pandemic, we're in the eye of the storm, things are on lockdown. And I remember walking down the stairs one day, and I'm a spiritual person, and I call me crazy if you want. I don't care. It's fine. None of my business. But I heard this whisper say, connect with the people. And that was, to me, God speaking to me. And I didn't know what that really meant. Connect with the people, connect with the people, connect with the people. What do I do? And something came to my mind. Well, with this pandemic, people are going to be, there's going to be a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts to mental health. What can I do as an individual to impact others and give them a source of inspiration, but at the same time get people together to start sharing their stories and having collaborative conversations? And that's what I did with Discover Your Other Self. I had no idea, again, everything that I do, I have no idea what I do, but I've just kind of jumped right in. And I started it on Zoom. And with the first episode, there was about 27, 28 people.
Nice.
I didn't know what I was going to really talk about. I remember saying, people, I just want to have conversations with you. And I remember I said to myself, if only one person shows up, that's fine. I'll just have a conversation. But then again, 27, 28 people showed up and it was cool. And then it translated into 70 people showing up on Zoom one day. I was like, okay, we're onto something, because people really wanted to talk about things that were impacting them during that time.
Yes. And I remember specifically being on Clubhouse a lot, and there was all these rooms where everyone just wanted to talk, and I wanted an opportunity to express himself. So it's great that you provided the space to do that. You're also a workshop facilitator. I believe maybe I heard from another show that you facilitate at universities and colleges and stuff like that. What exactly do you do when it comes to that part of your life?
Yeah, there was a moment in time, 2019, where I was in transition. Transition meaning I was out of work, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my next phase of my career. And I developed this program because I thought back to my roots in terms of, okay, well, you managed people, you managed recent grads that came into the workforce, and they didn't really have a clue in terms of how to transition properly, how to manage up in terms of level setting on the expectations of their managers. And you remember when you were, coming out of school, your struggles with transitioning to the real world and how that was.
Yeah.
So I've developed this program that would help students successfully transition into the real world. So I just developed this framework, developed a bunch of modules, and I pitched it to University of Toronto, Ryerson, a bunch of universities. And they're like, wow, you found a gap here, because, we only teach a portion of what you are talking about. And they loved my approach, and they asked me to come and facilitate workshops. And even this week, it's what's fascinating is that initially it was just tailored toward 3rd and 4th year students.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, U of T Scarborough campus actually had me come in to deliver a workshop to their staff, their faculty of staff, to help them become marketable individuals so that they could help progress their career. So there's a lot of morphing happening when it comes to the workshops that I facilitate.
Okay. So that's excellent news. I love to hear that. We're going to dive into Discover Your Other Self, right? I started reading it. I'm still reading it, and so far it's amazing, right? Tell us about your journey in discovering your other self.
Yeah, so the book, and I'm glad that you have a copy. I'm actually thankful and appreciate the fact that you're supporting this movement, because I just want the book to be in as many hands as possible. And what I say, it's that it's not a book that's going to change your life, but it's going to change your mindset, which would then change your life. Because once you change your mindset, you change your life. But the journey behind the book is, I had a bunch of conversations through this process of Discover Your Other Self when it comes to the conversations I would have on LinkedIn Live or Zoom. But prior to that, it focuses on 2019, which was my version of COVID-19. That's what I call it, because that was like the precursor of things to come. But again, based on my connection with God, it also served as a tool for me to really and truly discover my other self. What I mean by that is 2019 was my rock bottom moment where I was working in the telecommunications industry, and I went from one company to the competing company, and I didn't do it in the best manner. And the company that I left actually impacted my job, believe it or not, at the new job that I was going to, which left me out of work. And it actually ruined what I thought at the time, my reputation within that industry, because I couldn't get a job back in that same industry that I've been working there for 12 years. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I was like crying in the shower. It was just a moment like, shoot, yeah, I'm a minute into this. I cried in the shower. It's fine. I'm not crying now. I'm good. But the book really talks about those moments and how if I didn't go through that rock bottom moment and journey, Banki, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation
That's
because
true.
I had just tunnel vision. I always felt that, okay, I'm going to stick within this one industry and I'm going to climb that corporate ladder. Meanwhile, I didn't know that the world is pretty much my oyster and I'm the creator of my own reality and I could go after what I want. And going through that moment really exposed myself to the opportunities out there in life. And the book is really a means to help inspire you to look at life, discover your purpose, not only hone in on my story, but also share stories of others that went through the struggle and they just didn't stay in one spot, but they figured out another path, another
Yes.
way to overcome their struggles and overcome and design the life that they wanted.
And I can relate to that story from what I've read in a lot of different ways. So in 2018, I left the corporate world, right? I was at a place of work for 8 years. And I felt that I was treated unfairly. While I was still had my business part time, I was doing a full time 9 to 5, and leaving the 9 to 5 and going into entrepreneurship full time, which actually led to the birth of Business Takeout. Because if I didn't take that leap, I wouldn't have created Business Takeout. So, which is, where we are right now. So I understand, I can relate to the journey of, you know, having the tunnel vision of, I'm going to stay here till I retire because there's excellent benefits and all of those things. And then switching into another dimension where this is all on me, I'm going to make this happen regardless. So I can definitely relate to that. So I'm just trying to do a comparison to self-employment as being an entrepreneur versus the corporate world. There's a lot of issues within corporate worlds. There's systematic racism. There's workplace politics. A lot of things that you would prevent it once you're an entrepreneur and you head on that journey. Um, so you know. Um, so it's interesting that you had that experience because it led you to find yourself. You know, um, if someone was to ask you, who is Reggie Waterman, what would you say who you are as a person, who is the soul of who you are?
Someone that's just resilient, someone that really and truly just wants to live life. And what I mean by that, like live life sounds very just surface. But when I'm talking about living life, it's about experiences. It's and these experiences come in the form of good, bad, the ugly. But I want to focus more on the good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you focus on the good, it's you put yourself in a higher frequency in terms of a vibrational energy, and that's what you're going to attract.
That's true.
But at my core, it's no matter what life throws at me, I'm the person that's going to always find another way to do it. There's obviously going to be obstacles in your life, and that's just the nature of life. But I don't subscribe to what society says or how I should live my life. I'm all about creating these experiences because I know that life is short. I know that life is not guaranteed. I know that there's an expiration on my life, your life, whether or not we choose to believe it or not. But what are we going to be doing during that time? And at the end of the day, I just want to have fun. I feel like people just take life way too serious, and let's just not get caught up in the everyday rigmarole chatter about like anxiety, uncertainty. And I'm just all about, well, how can I service others? How can I make an impact? Because I want to make memories. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah. No, I fully get you. You know, to me, that's always a tough question. When someone asks me that question, I always go back to what I do or what I'm known for, you
Mhm.
know. But I think deep down inside, I think who I am has a great deal with wanting to help others, you know. I'm still working it out though.
Well, that's just it, right? Like your work is never done. Our work is never done, I should say.
That's
Um,
true.
and every day is an opportunity for us to make an impact, to service others, to do what we are designed for on this earth.
Exactly. Are you familiar with a SWOT and oh my gosh, I'm pronouncing. You know what a SWOT analyst is?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Yep.
Yeah. Um, okay, so I've always applied that in business when I do my branding consultations and all of that stuff. I do that a lot with my clients, right? Um, and have you thought about? I've never thought about doing it on myself until I started reading your book, and I'm
Mhm.
still in the middle of it. Right? What are your take on using that type of technique to find yourself?
I think it's a brilliant technique because at the end of the day, we should be honing in on what our strengths are. Once we leverage our strengths, we can then create impact, right? So if you think about that matrix, if you think about putting your strengths in one column and you make a list, like for me, it's like, strong communicator, strong presenter, just building connections. That's my strength. I have the ability to network and really integrate myself into any sort of environment and create a connection, right?
Okay.
I have the ability to look at a problem,
Mm-hmm.
dissect it. Like it's like that RoboCop. You ever watch RoboCop back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay, so RoboCop had a scanner. RoboCop would see a situation, he'd be scanning lasers, like lasers. He's seeing stuff, and I'm seeing. I'm like, okay, this is wrong. That's wrong. Here's the opportunity. Here's how we could fix this, and my job is done. So I got that RoboCop scanner.
Okay.
In terms of weaknesses, shoot, we all have weaknesses, right?
Definitely.
Sometimes I overthink. That's one of my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, like just let things fly and see what happens, right? But that's just based on my perfectionist type of mentality. I want everything to kind of like flow a certain way. In terms of opportunities, well, what kind of opportunities are in front of me, right? If I look at today's landscape within this digital age, where is the opportunity for me to add value, create disruption, or generate partnerships with others so that I could help progress myself even further? And then threats. Well, what are the threats? Is there economic threats? Is there threats to even, if you think about automation as an example,
Yes,
automation presents a threat in terms of employment.
that's
As
true.
as we get rid of people, then we enter or insert machines that takes away jobs, right, from individuals. Um, but in regards to my livelihood, what are the threats? Competition could be a threat. There's a lot of workshop facilitators. Um, Threats could be, and this is a threat and an opportunity. Sometimes the color of my skin could be a threat to other people, depending on which sandbox I'm playing in,
Mhm. That's
right?
true.
But it also could present an opportunity because it makes us unique because of the color of our skin and what we can deliver. So those are the ways that I think about my persona and what the value that I have to offer the marketplace.
Okay. And in your book, you talk about the time matrix.
Mhm.
Um, just briefly, how did you come up with the time matrix?
The time matrix is something that I actually developed in a framework that I created back in 2019 when I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was like, there's so many frameworks out there, and I'm using the word framework. But I'm like, why don't I just make a simple matrix, four boxes. One box says, what I don't want in my life. Another box says what I do want in my life. Another box says, what are my superpowers? Another box says this time next year. And that was an opportunity for me to visualize what I want for myself a year from now. If I rewind the tape and I take a look at what I don't want, that's the easy part. If I make a list of things that I don't want in my life, then I don't have to focus on it. It's out of my visual. It's not even a focus. So it's like, move out of the way. And let's really focus on what I want. Create that list, combine that with my superpowers, and my superpowers will help me get what I want. And then this time next year is, okay, well, I'm going to take my superpowers, everything that I want, and I'm going to put a timeline a year from now, and I'm going to strive to hit those goals.
Okay, amazing. And for everyone who's watching, I really would say that you get this book. You'll learn so much about it. It will definitely inspire you and help you to discover your other self. So just, the book is available on Amazon, and it should be in the comments where you can just click on it to get a copy of your book. So we have a game, right, on this show. It's called Business Confessions. And basically how the game works is I will give you a business scenario, or just a scenario in general, and you will respond. I will guess if it's a lie or a confession. Are you ready to play this game?
I love games. Is this by Milton Bradley? She's Milton Bradley. Milton Bradley created all the games, man.
All right. All right, the game starts right now. Okay, Reggie, tell us about a time when you followed your inner voice or intuition and it led you to a life-changing experience.
All right. So that one time walking down the stairs, March 2020, and I heard those whispers connect with the people. Because I followed that voice, which was like God and my other self speaking to me. That's what really turned the tide in terms of what I'm delivering right now.
Because I read the book, I would say it's a confession.
Ding, 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 ding. What do you want?
No gifts today. There was so much I wanted to ask you. I'm looking at the time, and I know that you start your show very soon, so I don't want to take you away from that. I will end the show with one last question: is where do you see yourself in the future? What does the future holds for Reggie Waterman?
Ooh, this is a good one. I feel like Miss Cleo. Do you know who Miss Cleo is?
The ball, the crystal ball.
Yeah, she used to be a famous psychic.
Yes.
Oh no! Yeah. I am going to disrupt the talent acquisition process. I'm going to revolutionize it and make it easier for everybody in the world to get the job that they really want. And I'm also going to help employers find the right talent so they don't have to spend time, OPEX dollars to find talent. This is going to streamline the process. And that's what I'm going to be known for in the future.
All right. Well, Reggie, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing your journey as we continue. For everyone who's watching, if you like this show, Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Reggie, it's been a pleasure having you today. And I'm going to hop on to watch your show coming up next at 7:45 on LinkedIn, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you're watching, like, share, and subscribe. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
Before I leave, I miss that part of the YouTube experience. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Hit the buttons right there. It's got to be right here somewhere. It's going to be here somewhere graphically. I miss saying that from Pot About Nothing. We used to say that all the time.
Yep.
That's all I want to say.
No. Bye, everyone.
Take care.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/